The silver spacecraft descended from the clouds over Washington, D.C. on a warm spring morning in 2045. People stopped and stared, traffic halted, and the world watched through countless screens as humanity experienced first contact. The Galactic Federation had arrived. 3 months later, Lieutenant Jack Miller stood nervously in front of his bathroom mirror, straightening his uniform. The Navy survival specialist had faced blizzards, deserts, and jungles, but nothing had prepared him for space travel. Jack checked his pocket for the 100th time, making sure his personal survival kit was there. Old habits die hard. "You're going to be late," called Olivia Green from the hallway. The botanist had been paired with Jack as Earth's representatives for the cultural exchange program. "The shuttle leaves in 30 minutes. Jack grabbed his duffel bag and hurried out. "Just making sure I'm prepared." Olivia smiled. "Always the survival expert. You know they have technology that makes our most advanced systems look like stone tools, right?" "Technology breaks," Jack said simply. The shuttle ride to the massive ship orbiting Earth was smooth and quick. Jack watched his home planet shrink away through the window. The Celestial Envoy flagship of the Galactic Federation, was unlike anything humans had ever built. A city in space housing representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations. A blue-skinned alien with 4 arms guided them through gleaming corridors. "The Council awaits you." They are eager to learn about Earth culture. The Council chamber reminded Jack of the United Nations, except the delegates included beings with tentacles, exoskeletons, and features that defied human description. At the center stood Commander Crix, a tall, slender Ziltaxi with silvery skin and eyes that shifted color with his emotions. "Welcome, Earth representatives," Crix said through the translator device. "We are honored by your presence. Please introduce yourselves and your function." Jack stepped forward. "Lieutenant Jack Miller, United States Navy, Survival Training Specialist." "Dr. Olivia Green, genobotanist and ecological researcher," Olivia added. A ripple of movement passed through the chamber, the alien equivalent of murmurs. Commander Crix's eyes flickered to purple, indicating curiosity. "Survival Specialist. This term is unfamiliar to us," he said. Jack explained. "I teach people how to stay alive in dangerous environments with minimal resources." A shorter, stockier alien with glistening scales and a sharp-toothed smile leaned forward. "You mean when technology fails? How primitive." "Our systems have 99.8% reliability." "With respect," Jack said, "humans believe in redundancy. Technology is wonderful until it isn't." Jack pulled out his personal survival kit, a compact package barely larger than his hand. He opened it to display the contents: multi-tool knife, fire starter, water tablets, paracord, bandages, signal mirror, compass, fishing line and hooks, and a tightly folded emergency blanket. The scaled alien, Lieutenant Zex of the Vexaran fleet according to the translator, actually laughed, a hissing sound that made Jack's neck prickle. "You would trust your life to metal scraps and string?" Zex asked. "Our youngest hatchlings have more advanced toys." Commander Crix raised a 4-fingered hand for silence, but his eyes had shifted to an amused golden hue. "Perhaps there is educational value in this contrast of approaches. Lieutenant Miller, would you be willing to demonstrate how humans survive?" "Of course," Jack replied. "Excellent. I propose a friendly competition," Crix continued, eyes now bright with excitement. "You and Dr. Green will use only your primitive tools. Lieutenant Zex will use our standard equipment. We will observe how each team fares in a controlled environment." Olivia stepped closer to Jack. "What kind of environment?" she asked. "We have a terraformed moon with Earth-like conditions, but more challenging terrain. Nothing you cannot handle with your kit," Crix said, the translator failing to hide the note of condescension. Jack recognized the look the aliens were giving him. He'd seen it before from cocky recruits who thought survival training was a joke, right before they faced their first real challenge. "We accept," Jack said without hesitation. Zex's scales rippled with amusement. This will be most entertaining. The broadcast will be popular throughout the Federation. Jack smiled politely but said nothing. He knew something these advanced aliens didn't. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the most reliable. Olivia whispered, "Did we just agree to an interstellar reality show?" Jack nodded. "Looks like it. But they don't know who they're dealing with." Commander Crix's eyes shifted to deep blue, indicating satisfaction. Then it settled. The challenge begins tomorrow. Jack and Olivia sat in a small meeting room aboard the Celestial Envoy *. A holographic display showed the moon where their challenge would take place, a rocky landscape with dense forests, winding rivers, and steep mountains. The air was breathable, but had slightly less oxygen than Earth. The temperature ranged from hot days to cold nights. "The rules are simple," said Commander Crix. His silver skin reflected the blue light of the hologram. "You will have 14 standard days to survive in this environment. We will drop both teams in separate locations 10 kilometers apart." Lieutenant Zex flashed his sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "My team will have standard Federation exploration gear." He gestured to the sleek metallic objects on the table before him. Jack studied the alien technology with interest. There was a small cube that could filter any liquid into clean water, a rod that generated heat or light depending on its setting, and a thin band that created a weather shield when activated. "And the humans will use only what they carry in their kit," Zex continued, the translator conveying his mocking tone. Jack opened his survival kit on the table. The contents seemed laughably simple next to the alien technology. He added a few items from his personal bag: a small notebook, pencil, and extra water tablets. "Is that all?" asked a purple-skinned alien scientist who had joined them. "No energy weapons, no communication devices." "This is all we need," Jack said calmly. Commander Crix's eyes shifted to a curious orange. "Fascinating. The objective is to establish shelter, secure food and water sources, and remain in good health until extraction. We will monitor both teams but will not intervene unless lives are at risk." Olivia picked up a water purification tablet. "Will we be able to use natural resources we find?" "Of course," Crix replied. "That is part of the challenge, using what the environment provides." "And will the broadcast be live?" Jack asked. Lieutenant Zex hissed with amusement. "The entire Federation will watch your primitive struggle. It will be educational for younger species." Jack nodded but said nothing. He exchanged a look with Olivia. They had spent the previous night researching the moon's environment using the Federation's database. They were as prepared as they could be. The next morning, Jack and Olivia dressed in standard-issue outdoor clothing: sturdy boots, cargo pants with multiple pockets, long-sleeved shirts, and light jackets. Jack tucked his survival kit into his pocket and checked that the knife was secure on his belt. Olivia braided her dark hair tightly, ready to show these aliens what humans can do. Jack smiled. "They think this is entertainment. Let's make it educational." They boarded a small shuttle that would take them to the moon's surface. Through the window, they could see another shuttle carrying Lieutenant Zex and his team of 3 other aliens. The purple scientist gave them each a small metal button. "This will monitor your vital signs. If you are in true danger, press it 3 times for emergency extraction." Jack pinned the button to his jacket. "We won't need it." The scientist looked doubtful, but said nothing. As the shuttle descended through the moon's thin atmosphere, Jack studied the landscape below. He could see a river winding through a valley and dense forest covering the hillsides. Good, water and potential shelter. The shuttle landed in a small clearing. The door opened, releasing a blast of hot, dry air. "Your 14 days begin now," said the pilot. "Good luck." Jack and Olivia stepped onto the alien soil. The shuttle door closed behind them, and the vessel lifted off, quickly becoming a small dot in the sky. They were alone on an alien moon with only their basic survival kit and their skills. "First things first," Jack said, pulling out his compass. We need to find high ground to survey our surroundings, then locate water. Olivia nodded, already examining nearby plants. Some of these look similar to Earth species. I might be able to identify edible ones. Jack looked up at the strange purple and orange sky. Somewhere out there, aliens were watching, waiting for them to fail. Let's get to work, he said. We've got 14 days to prove them wrong. Jack and Olivia reached the top of a small hill after 30 minutes of hiking. From this higher spot, they could see for miles in every direction. The landscape was beautiful but strange. The trees had blue-green leaves, and strange birds with 6 wings flew overhead. Water source at 2 o'clock, Jack said, pointing to a stream that cut through the valley below. And those rock formations to the east might provide good shelter. Olivia was on her knees, examining the soil and plants. The dirt is rich here. Some of these plants look similar to earth ferns. They might be edible, but we'll need to test them carefully. Jack nodded and took out his notebook. He sketched a rough map of their surroundings, marking potential resources and dangers. Let's head to the water first. We can follow the stream to those rocks and set up camp before dark. As they walked downhill toward the stream, Olivia collected small samples of various plants, carefully wrapping each in a leaf and storing them in her pockets. Jack kept his eyes on their surroundings, watching for any movement that might signal danger. When they reached the stream, Jack knelt and examined the water. It ran clear over smooth stones. Small fish-like creatures with glowing scales darted beneath the surface. Potential food source, he said, pointing at the fish. Let's test the water. Jack filled his cupped hands with water and sniffed it. He touched a drop to his tongue, but didn't swallow. No immediate bitter or metallic taste, but we'll use the purification tablets to be safe. Meanwhile, on the other side of a distant ridge, Lieutenant Zex and his team had set up their camp. They activated their equipment with confident gestures. The shelter generator created a comfortable dome. The water purifier hummed as it processed stream water, and the food synthesizer prepared nutrient-rich meals. But something was wrong. The atmospheric analyzer is malfunctioning, one of Zex's team members reported. It shows dangerous levels of mineral particles, but that can't be right. Zex tapped the device with frustration. Recalibrated. The Federation scouts already confirmed this environment is safe. Back at the human camp, Jack and Olivia worked with smooth efficiency. Jack had found a small cave in the rock formation. He cleared the entrance of debris while Olivia gathered straight branches and large leaves. This will work well, Jack said, examining the cave. Good protection, single entrance we can monitor, and the rock will retain heat at night. Olivia returned with an armful of materials. I found some dry grass for kindling, and these large leaves can be woven into sleeping mats. As the alien sun began to set, casting purple and orange light across the landscape, Jack used his fire starter to ignite a small flame. The dry grass caught quickly, and soon they had a cheerful fire burning near the cave entrance. First test, Olivia said, holding up a leaf. This plant is similar to dandelion greens on Earth. She touched it to her lips, then her tongue. Waited, then chewed a tiny amount without swallowing. After 5 minutes with no reaction, she repeated the process with a slightly larger piece. Jack nodded approvingly. Smart approach. While you're testing plants, I'll set up some fishing lines. By nightfall, Jack and Olivia had a secure shelter in the cave, a fire for warmth and cooking, purified water in Jack's canteen, several fishing lines set in the stream, identified one definitely safe plant, and 2 possibles. In the Federation ship orbiting above, Commander Crix watched the broadcast with growing interest. His eyes had shifted to a deep purple of surprise. The humans are progressing faster than expected, he noted. They seem oddly at home in this wilderness. Lieutenant Zex's voice came through the communication system, sounding strained. Commander, we're experiencing multiple equipment failures. The minerals in this region are interfering with our technology. Crix's eyes flashed yellow with concern. Do you require extraction? No, Zex replied quickly. We can manage. It's just unexpected. Crix turned back to the human broadcast. Jack was now teaching viewers how to set simple traps using only sticks and cord. Olivia was creating a field guide of local plants in the notebook. Fascinating, Crix murmured. Perhaps there is more to these primitive methods than we realized. 3 days into the challenge, Jack woke at dawn to check his traps. The alien sun was just rising, painting the sky with streaks of gold and purple. He found 2 small rabbit-like creatures caught in the snares he had set the previous evening. Protein, he said with satisfaction. He quickly and humanely dispatched the animals, then carried them back to camp. Olivia was already awake, tending to the fire and boiling water in a crude pot they had made from large, waxy leaves sealed with tree sap. Good morning, she said. The water filter system is working well. She pointed to their creation. Layers of sand, charcoal from their fire, and stone that slowly purified stream water. Jack held up his catch. Breakfast. The traps worked. Olivia nodded. And I've confirmed 3 more edible plants. The blueberries taste like sweet potatoes, and these root vegetables are safe when cooked. They had established a comfortable routine over the past days. Their cave now had sleeping areas lined with soft grasses, a cooking area near the entrance, and a storage section for their growing collection of useful items. Outside, they had built a drying rack for preserving meat and a raised platform for observing their surroundings. As they prepared breakfast, a sudden flash of light lit up the sky. Jack stepped outside and looked up. A massive electrical storm was forming in the atmosphere. Looks bad, he said. We should secure everything. Miles away, Lieutenant Zex stared at the approaching storm with growing alarm. His team's weather shield was flickering. The power cells drained faster than expected due to the mineral interference. Reroute all power to the shields, he ordered. One of his team members, a blue-skinned female named Grax, checked their instruments. The storm contains unusual magnetic properties. It may affect all electronic systems. Zex's scaled face showed worry. Our backup systems. Also electronic, Grax replied. When the storm hit, it was more violent than either team had anticipated. Lightning struck the ground repeatedly, and powerful winds bent trees nearly to the ground. In the human camp, Jack and Olivia moved deeper into their cave, safe from the storm's fury. They watched from the entrance as rain lashed the landscape. Glad we waterproofed the firewood, Jack said. Olivia nodded. And set up those drainage channels around the cave yesterday. They heard a crash in the distance as a tree fell. The aliens have weather shields, right? Olivia asked. Jack nodded. If their technology is still working. Aboard the Asterisk, Celestial Envoy Asterisk, Commander Crix and other Federation officials watched with growing concern. The alien team's shelter had collapsed when their shield generator failed. The team huddled in the rain, their equipment useless. We should extract them, suggested a Ziltaxi scientist. Crix's eyes shifted to a deep blue of consideration. Not yet. Let's see how they handle this setback. It is valuable data. He turned to another screen. How are the humans faring? The screen showed Jack and Olivia calmly drinking tea made from local herbs while sitting comfortably in their dry cave. They appear unaffected, the scientist said with surprise. When the storm finally passed, Jack and Olivia emerged to assess the damage. Some of their traps had been destroyed, and the fish drying rack had blown over, but the structure was intact. We'll need to rebuild the rack, Jack said, already gathering materials. Olivia checked their plant collection. Most of our stores are fine. And look, the storm brought down many branches we can use. Lieutenant Zex's team was in much worse condition. Their shelter was ruined, the food synthesizer had short-circuited, and the water purifier had been smashed by a falling branch. The lieutenant stood amid the wreckage, his scales dull with shock. Call for extraction, he said finally. But the challenge. Grax began. Is impossible without functioning equipment, Zex snapped. Commander Crix watched this exchange with shifting eyes. Then he switched back to the human camp, where Jack was teaching viewers how to find north without a compass by using the shadow of a stick in the ground. Olivia was collecting medicinal plants that had been exposed by the storm. Remarkable adaptability. Crix murmured. Perhaps we have much to learn from these humans after all. Day 7 arrived with an unexpected problem. Jack woke to the ground shaking beneath him. Small rocks fell from the ceiling of their cave. Olivia, wake up, he called, already grabbing their survival kit and water container. Olivia was on her feet in seconds. Earthquake. Something like that. We need to get outside. They rushed from the cave just as a larger tremor hit. In the distance, they saw a mountain smoking. The ground continued to shake for nearly a minute before stopping. A volcano? Olivia asked, eyes wide. Jack frowned. Or something similar. Either way, we need to be careful. This cave might not be safe anymore. They moved to open ground and watched as more smoke rose from the distant mountain. The air began to smell strange, sharp and bitter. Gas, Jack said, covering his nose with his sleeve. Volcanic gas is toxic. Olivia nodded. We need to move to higher ground and away from that direction. The wind is blowing the gas this way. On the Celestial Envoy Commander Crix called an emergency meeting. The geological survey missed signs of volcanic activity. A scientist explained. The seismic event has released toxic gases into the atmosphere. The human camp is in the path of these gases. Crix's eyes flashed with alarm. Prepare for immediate extraction. Wait, said another scientist. The humans are moving. They appear to understand the danger. On the view screen, Jack and Olivia were quickly packing their essential items. Jack had tied his jacket around his face as a makeshift mask. Olivia was doing the same with a piece of cloth. They're adapting, Crix said with surprise. Continue monitoring. Jack and Olivia climbed higher into the hills, moving perpendicular to the wind direction. The toxic gas formed a visible haze in the valley below. We need to find new shelter and water, Jack said as they hiked. And we need better protection from the gas. Olivia stopped to examine a patch of moss-like plants growing on rocks. This might help. On Earth, certain mosses can filter air pollutants. She collected samples while Jack scouted ahead. After an hour of hiking, they found a small overhang on the hillside, protected from the wind and gas. This will work for now, Jack said. He took out his knife and began cutting branches to create a more enclosed shelter. Olivia experimented with the moss, placing wet clumps over their face coverings. Breathe through this, she said. It seems to filter some of the smell. By midday, they had established a new camp. Jack found a small spring seeping from the rocks nearby. He set up a collection system using large leaves to channel the water into their container. The communication panel in their shelter lit up, the first time the Federation had contacted them directly. Humans, Commander Crix's voice came through. We did not anticipate the volcanic activity. The situation may be dangerous. We offer emergency extraction. Jack looked at Olivia. She nodded, and he pressed the response button. Thank you, Commander, but we're managing the situation, Jack replied. However, you should check on Lieutenant Zex's team. Their location was closer to the volcano. There was a pause before Crix responded, his voice containing a note of surprise. You are concerned for your competitors. Of course, Olivia said. Are they safe? Another pause. They are in distress. Their air filtration systems were damaged in the storm and cannot handle the toxic gases. Jack didn't hesitate. Then get them out. We'll continue as planned unless conditions worsen. After the communication ended, Olivia looked at Jack. You think they'll extract Zex's team? Jack nodded. They have to. But we can keep going. We've handled worse air quality during forest fires back on Earth. As evening approached, they watched a Federation shuttle descend to Zex's location and then rise again minutes later. That night, as they sat beside their small fire under the rock overhang, Jack pulled out his notebook. "Let's map our new area and plan for tomorrow." Olivia smiled as she worked on improving their moss filters. "I wonder what the aliens are thinking now." Aboard the Celestial Envoy Commander Crix was wondering the same thing as he reviewed the day's footage. His eyes had shifted to a deep green color that indicated respect. 10 days into the challenge, the Federation broadcast of Jack and Olivia's survival experience had become the most watched program across 27 star systems. Aliens of all species tuned in daily to watch the humans adapt to each new challenge. In their new camp on the hillside, Jack was showing viewers how to create a water filter using sand, charcoal, and stones layered in a hollowed log. "The charcoal absorbs impurities," he explained, knowing the aliens were watching. "The sand filters out larger particles. It's simple but effective." Olivia returned from foraging with a collection of roots and berries. "I found 3 new food sources," she said, "and these red flowers seem to help with breathing when the gas levels rise." Their new shelter had improved daily. Jack had built a raised sleeping platform to stay warmer at night. Olivia had created storage areas for their growing collection of useful plants. They had even made clay pots from mud near the spring, baking them in their fire to hold water and food. On the Celestial Envoy Lieutenant Zex had recovered from gas exposure and watched the broadcast with growing amazement. His team sat with him, their earlier mockery replaced by genuine interest. "They have nothing," Zex said, "yet they create everything they need." Commander Crix entered the viewing room, his silver skin gleaming. "The Federation Science Council has requested a special broadcast. They want Lieutenant Miller to explain his approach to problem solving." Zex looked up. "What about my team's approach?" Crix's eyes shifted to a gentle blue. "Your equipment failed, Lieutenant. There is little to learn from that. But the humans have shown remarkable ingenuity." The communication panel in Jack and Olivia's shelter lit up again. "Lieutenant Miller, Dr. Green," Commander Crix said, "the Federation Science Council wishes to learn more about your methods. Would you be willing to give a demonstration?" Jack looked at Olivia with surprise. She nodded encouragingly. "We'd be happy to," Jack replied. "What would you like us to demonstrate?" "Your approach to unexpected problems," Crix said. "Our officers rely heavily on technology and specialized equipment. When these fail, they often struggle." That afternoon, Jack gave an impromptu class on survival basics. He explained how to find water by looking for certain plants and insect activity. He demonstrated multiple ways to start fires without matches or lighters. He showed how to test unknown plants for edibility using a systematic approach. Olivia added her knowledge about medicinal plants and how to identify potentially useful ones based on their characteristics. Across the Federation, military officers and explorers took notes. Several spacecraft captains began questioning their own readiness for emergencies if technology failed. Commander Crix appeared on the broadcast personally. "I must admit, when this challenge began, many of us viewed human survival techniques as primitive and amusing. We were wrong. Your adaptability is remarkable." Jack nodded. "Humans have always needed to adapt. Our technology is new, but our survival instincts are ancient." "There is wisdom in maintaining these skills," Crix agreed. "Our own species once had similar knowledge, but it was lost as technology advanced." After the broadcast ended, Jack and Olivia sat by their fire as night fell. "We've changed their perspective," Olivia said. Jack nodded. "But the challenge isn't over yet. We still have 4 more days." The next morning, they woke to a strange sound. Jack stepped outside their shelter and froze. At the edge of their camp stood a large creature with 6 legs and sharp claws. It resembled a cross between a bear and a lizard, with iridescent scales and multiple eyes. "Olivia," Jack called softly, "don't make sudden movements, but we have company." The creature growled, revealing rows of pointed teeth. It took a step toward them. On the Celestial Envoy, Commander Crix jumped to his feet. "What is that beast?" It wasn't in our ecosystem survey. A scientist checked the data frantically. Unknown species, Commander. Possibly from the mountains where the volcanic activity occurred. It may have been driven from its territory. Crix's eyes flashed red with alarm. Prepare emergency extraction immediately. Jack slowly reached for his knife, keeping his eyes on the creature. Olivia, back up very slowly toward the rocks. The creature roared and stepped closer. The six-legged creature growled again, its multiple eyes fixed on Jack and Olivia. Jack held his knife low, not making any threatening moves. Easy, he said in a calm, steady voice. We're not going to hurt you. The creature tilted its head, as if listening. It sniffed the air. Olivia slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out some of the dried meat they had saved. It might be hungry, she whispered. The volcano probably disrupted. On the morning of day 13, Jack woke to find their water supply completely empty. The small spring they had been using had stopped flowing. That's strange, he said, examining the dry rocks. It was fine yesterday. Olivia frowned. Could be related to the volcano. Underground changes might have redirected the water. Jack nodded. We need to find a new source immediately. Water is our priority now. As they packed essential items to search for water, they heard a strange humming sound. Looking up, they saw a small flying object hovering nearby. It wasn't a Federation shuttle, but something different, sleeker and darker. What is that? Olivia asked. The object suddenly shot a beam of energy at the ground near their shelter. The earth erupted, sending dirt and rocks flying. Jack pulled Olivia behind a large boulder, just as another energy blast hit where they had been standing. I think we found our final test, Jack said grimly. On the Celestial Envoy *, Commander Crix watched with concern as the humans took cover from the drone's attacks. The combat drone is set to training level, a military officer reported. It will pursue but not seriously harm them. Crix's eyes shifted between yellow concern and blue interest. And what is the purpose of this test? To see how humans respond to direct threats, the officer explained. All our previous challenges tested their ability to work with their environment. Now we test their defensive capabilities. Back on the surface, Jack peered around the boulder. The drone was circling their position, scanning for movement. It's looking for us, he said. And I think it cut off our water source on purpose. What do we do? Olivia asked. We can't outrun that thing. Jack thought for a moment. We need to understand its patterns first. Let me try something. He picked up a rock and threw it far to their right. The drone immediately fired at the movement, then moved to investigate. It reacts to motion and seems to follow a predictable search pattern, Jack observed. We can use that. Over the next few hours, Jack and Olivia studied the drone's behavior. They discovered it had limitations. It couldn't detect them if they moved very slowly. It paused to recharge after firing 3 times, and it always approached from the same angle during attacks. That afternoon, they'd put their plan into action. Olivia created several decoys from branches and their spare clothes. Jack prepared a special surprise using materials from their survival kit. Ready? He asked. Olivia nodded and set the first decoy in motion by pulling a cord. The drone immediately attacked the moving clothes. When it paused to recharge, they moved to a new position, leaving another decoy. While the drone was distracted by the second decoy, Jack circled behind it. He had created a bola using stones wrapped in cloth and connected with paracord. With a practiced motion, he whirled it over his head and released. The bola wrapped around the drone, tangling its propulsion system. The drone crashed to the ground, its lights flickering as it tried to free itself. Jack quickly approached and covered its sensors with mud, effectively blinding it. We did it, Olivia said, joining him. The communication panel they carried suddenly activated. Commander Crix's voice came through, sounding impressed. Remarkable, he said. Most Federation cadets would have attempted to destroy the drone with weapons or called for extraction. Destruction wastes resources, Jack replied. We disabled it without damaging it permanently. The challenge is complete, Crix announced. A shuttle will arrive for extraction within the hour. You have surpassed all expectations, humans. When Jack and Olivia returned to the Celestial Envoy they found the entire Federation Council waiting to greet them. Lieutenant Zex stepped forward, his scales bright with new respect. We were wrong about humans, Zex said. Your primitive kit contains more than simple tools. It contains wisdom we had forgotten. Commander Crix's eyes glowed a bright green of admiration. The Federation has voted unanimously to add Earth's survival techniques to our training programs. We would be honored if you would help develop this curriculum. Jack looked at Olivia with a smile. We'd be happy to teach. That evening, as the Celestial Envoy prepared to return to Earth, Jack watched the alien moon through a viewing portal. What had started as entertainment for the aliens had become a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the simplest solutions were the most reliable. And sometimes, what seemed primitive was actually the result of thousands of years of human wisdom, passed down through generations who had learned to survive against all odds.